Ladies and gentlemen, when I found out that I was going to be interviewing Joe Gatto, I was like, well, I interview a lot of country singers, so I'm like, what is he saying? That was my instant reaction. But I'm like, in all seriousness, you're a legend in my household, so it's a pleasure to be talking with you.
Thank
How
you
are
so
you
much.
doing
It's
this
a
morning?
it's a legendary household. You have great taste over there. Thank you so
No,
much.
you were a fixture in the household, so I appreciate you taking the time. So you're coming to Boston. Let's just get that out of the way. We have two
Yes.
shows in April, correct?
Oh, can't wait. Love the Wilbur. Love coming up to Boston. Boston always comes out. You had to add a second show, which is great. So I'm very excited.
So it's the Let's Get Into It tour. What can fans expect from coming to one of these shows?
Yeah, this is my second stand-up tour. My first one was 2.5 years and messing with people, and we did the special got released on Hulu, which was a lot of fun. This tour started up in September, and I take a deeper dive into what makes a person the kind of person they are,
Sure.
because I don't know how you got where you are, but I am like this loud, bold comedian, and I didn't start this way. I was a very introverted, nerdy kid who used to make tests for my father.
Yeah.
So when he was at work, I used to open up the encyclopedias and make a multiple choice exam for Papa as he sold, his life insurance door to door for 12
I'm
hours a
sure he
day.
loved that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He'd come home and be like, "Can't you just be a real boy, Pinocchio?" So it's like, but yeah, and I look at that and pieces of, that build the people we are across time, and I look at my career, my family, and my parents, what they passed down to me. And it's just a lot of fun to get into it and have a good time.
Sure. So I mean, you mentioned how you love the Wilbur already. Is that like one of your like have you played any other venues in Boston?
Yeah, played the arena with the boys.
That's right. Yep.
Yep, yeah, which was fantastic. It's more the crowd. Like I just love a Boston crowd comes out heartily, laughs heartily. Has a good time. It's a great city. I love Boston. I'm not
Yeah.
one of those guys that's a New York. I'm not a athletic or fan of sports teams. So I
Sure.
think I like to say I like to say I think if you're a fan of sports teams, you sometimes have an issue
So the
with each other.
rivalry doesn't
Boston and New York,
exist.
it doesn't exist. No, you
Okay.
have good food up there. We have good food down
That's
there.
all
I'm
that
fine. I'm
matters,
ready to
really.
go.
Yeah. So you play the Garden, obviously, with the rest of the guys, but
Yeah.
do you have any big Boston memories that come to mind of you being here? Because I was nervous to ask you that question, being from New York, but I didn't know that the rivalry wasn't really a big deal for you. So,
Oh no, not at all, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I had a cousin who went to Northeastern, and I came to visit him. I got to spend a couple times, a weekend up there. Just it was funny because he's my younger cousin, but he wanted to like show me the town, which was funny. So
yeah.
because he was like, he was proud of being up there and stuff, and he's a good guy. So we got to I got to do some like touristy stuff, and it's just so much like fun. Like you don't have that history anywhere else. I feel in America besides like a couple of cities, and Boston's one of them. Like the rest
Exactly.
feels just so brand new. It's going across the country with this tour. I tour the whole country, so I see all these different towns and whatnot. But then like there's nothing like you feel it up there,
Hmm.
which is really really cool, and I like that. And I love that people are proud of that about it. It's
Yeah.
really
That's
really nice
definitely a plus of living here.
for
You
sure,
feel
for
so
sure.
connected to like the rest of the country too, like your origin stories right here. So,
That's true. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
it's being in like the first one. Everything else is a sequel.
exactly. Everything goes downhill from here.
Literally.
So you mentioned the tour and how it's about exploring who you are and how you became that person. Do you have like one story from your life that you love to bring to the stage and really either make jokes about or
Yeah.
share with other people?
Yeah, I'm a storyteller, so all my whole set is just a bunch of stories that I share that give me a perspective. But one of my favorites is how I with all of them, but it's like seeing my kids now.
Sure.
I talk about my children being a dad. I have a 9-year-old daughter, 7-year-old son, and my son. It's just to see like them be like me and stuff. We're in the supermarket. My son loves to laugh, but
Yeah.
he's more quiet. So he likes it like a one-on-one, and he starts giggling hysterical in the supermarket. And I said, "What's up, buddy?" And he points to a shopping cart that has a pineapple in it. And he goes, "The pineapple." I'm like, "Oh yeah, what?" He goes, "I put it there." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm ruining this child," which is so funny to me. And he was so proud of it, and like he was explaining to me how he did it. And I was like, "Kid, what do you do? This is what I do. This is why you're going to college for free." So, but it was just fun and cool. But I think about that stuff and I reflect on it. But it's really fun with the kids and the family and stuff being part of the
Sure.
to get some inspiration and stories from them.
So we're looking forward to the shows, definitely. And I want to switch to the Hulu special now. I mean, it's been out on Hulu for you said about a year now, right?
A little less,
A
yeah.
little less than a
I
year.
filmed it a year ago, yeah, and it came out on
So
Hulu, I think, a couple months ago.
is there a big difference when you're going into a show? Or I should ask you first, do you know that a comedy special is going to be taped during that show, or is it? just
Yeah.
bits and pieces pulled together.
No. You pick the ones you're taping. So I taped this one out in my hometown on Long Island here at the Paramount Theater, which is one of my favorite theaters in America. It's just so fun. A lot of great memories there. So I filmed it there and had a hometown crowd. It was really, really nice.
That's special. So
Yeah.
what's the biggest difference between filming something that, is just going to be a show, but then something that's going to be a special?
Yeah, I think you go into it a little bit different. It feels a little different in the room because you have different takes or something that you feel like if you want to re-deliver a joke or something gets missed, the director will be like, hey, the camera was in the right spot for that or whatever. But for the most part, you really just run your show. I did two, that's cut between one night, two shows. And really, it basically was just like, okay, where did I feel the most comfortable with where they were, where they landed, or,
Sure.
my delivery is a little bit more fun in this one or whatnot. So I just think it really is, it does feel different because the cameras are there and people know they're being filmed. So it has a different feel and there's no getting around that. So you just try to put on the best show you can. And I think we accomplished that.
But the people who are there in the crowd, they don't really
know.
act differently.
No. You get the same thing. They kind of ignore them, because the cameras aren't really up in their face that much or anything. It's just knowing that cameras are in the room is a little different.
Yeah. So this being, internationally televised, I should say, because it's on Hulu. Was there a bit or story that was in the special that you were a little nervous about putting out there, or?
No, not really. I think it was, it was fun and fine. I mean, in the middle of the tour, because that tour I toured with that show for 2 years, I had found a story in the middle, and it came in the middle of the tour.
Yeah.
So it was newer. It was a story about my son. We were driving. Steve Byrne is a good friend of mine, a comedian, and Mark Jagardian, who opens for me, and also a very good comedian. We were on the road and we're driving, and I tell him a story. I had gone to Disneyland with my kids, and took my son on that Star Wars ride. And he was 5 years old, and he had never seen a Star Wars film or been on a ride, so he thought he was being abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
So he had no idea what was going on, and he grabbed a handrail and yelled, "I want to go back to Earth!" And like it was hysterical. And I just told him that in the car, and Steve was like, "That's so funny." He's like, "You got to tell that on stage tonight."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Tell what?" He's like, "Just that story." He's like, "You'll figure it out." And I did, and it became like my favorite 15 minutes of that show now, because it's such a fun, really interesting thing. And when I punched it up, it was really, really cool to add
like a real life adaptation.
Yeah, and I really didn't talk about my kids much in it before that, so it was really cool to add that layer to it and show a little bit more of myself, because people know me, from TV. I just played myself, so you already have an idea of who I am.
Exactly.
So it was cool to show more of me. So like with these stories in the new Let's Get Into It tour, it's like a deeper dive of like figuring out it's heartfelt and a little bit more of like, why is he this?
Yeah. So you enjoy having that platform to really dive
for sure.
deeper into who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have the podcast as well, where that's another great platform for that to happen on too, right?
Yeah, Two Cool Moms. It's one.
You've been busy with that podcast. What's the vibe of the show for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet?
I would say everything I try to do, I try to make people forget how terrible their life is. Like I try to be the distraction for people to laugh and smile. So like when they come out to the Let's Get Into It show, it really literally is. I try to put on a big event where people could come out and laugh, be it a date night, bringing their family, come out by themselves. I have people come by themselves and make friends. Like it's great because you have common people in the room. They already have something in common, and it really is just fun. People need to laugh a lot. I hear it all the time, and I try to do that for people. So I really do love my shows to be that for people. And my podcast, anything I try to do, I try to make sure I have that as my motivator, because I believe that's really like my purpose.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very clear it's your purpose. So fans who are, people who love your podcast, love the tour, love the show, obviously. Have you run into like a funny question, or like, what is the oddest thing that a fan has asked you about?
They're so odd. The fans are so odd. I love them. But it's funny because there's a level of comfortability, whatever that word is, I'm looking for. People are comfortable with me quickly. Perfect. You know what I mean? Because they feel like you said, I've been in your home, for like 10 years. So they feel like they know me. So people will come up to me and be like, they just open up instantly, and just like, people love to let me know what I've got them through, which I love that about it. It's my favorite part of the job. So people just come up and be like, I had cancer, and I'm like, hi, I'm Joe. It's a weird thing. Like, you got me through this. My parents, my father died, and I found the show, and blah blah blah. But like, one of my favorites is like, True TV is basic cable, so it got played mostly in hospitals and prisons. So like, people aren't doing great. there, right? So I got a flat tire in LA a year ago. I'm on the side of the road. It's 1 a.m. in the pouring rain. I'm waiting for the guy to come. He gets out, the tow truck driver, huge dude, bald head, tatted up, walks over and he goes, "No way, Joe." And I was like, maybe. he goes,
Who's
yeah,
asking?
he goes, "I was in prison 5 years. I got out 2 months ago. You got me through it. Can I have a hug?" And I was like, again, I'm just hugging this guy like on the side of the 405, having a notebook moment with a stranger. But it was just cool. It was like a really thing that you connect with people in a way. So that's not lost on me at all.
No, that's really cool how moments like that happen, even with the scariest people. It's
Yeah, I know.
I
Everybody's a big teddy bear on the inside.
exactly. So you've had those big moments, but what's the funniest question you've had to give your mom wisdom on when it comes to the podcast?
Oh yeah, I mean the pods is fun. The pod's funny. I mean we get a lot of crazy questions, and two cool moms. We do our best. We're not professionals. We're professional comedians.
Yeah.
But it's funny because people just come to us with anything and ask strangers on the internet. A lot we get. One of the biggest questions we always get is how do I make friends as an adult? Like that's a big quandary. Like we get it a lot. Like a lot of people send that in. It's something to really think about because if you don't have kids. You don't have like the school parents, right?
Yeah.
You get in a level of your thing. If you just moved or whatnot, like how do you make friends? And I was like, it's really hard because you have to reprogram your mind to talk to strangers. Like we're brought up, right? It's like, no, don't talk to strangers, blah, blah, blah. And it's like now that's the only way because every best friend starts as a stranger. So
Exactly.
you need to like really just find opportunities to talk to people. And that's why I say I love like live events. Going to a coffee shop and try to approach somebody is hard. If you go to a live event, concert, comedy show, whatever, you already have something in common. You're both a fan of what you're watching. So there's the icebreakers in the room. So I love that for people. So that's one of my biggest, questions we get. But then I get weird ones like we get ones like, should I break up with my girlfriend? And they spill the beans, and I'm like, I don't know. Like this is you listen to your heart. Like,
I'm not a doctor. Yeah.
I know what you turned to me about this. But then we get fun ones too. Like people are like, what is the best movie ever? And we'll just go back and forth and fight about stuff like. So it's always like lighthearted in nature, but there is some real wisdom in life because Steve and I have been through it. We've been through a lot of stuff in our point in our life, so we try to share our life experience as best we can. So it's always a good time.
You're just doing so many fun things like writing a children's book. Where did you even get the idea to do that?
Yeah, Where's Barry? Is my kid's book just came out came out in September. It was really I always wanted a kid's book. Like so when I rejiggered my life and I figured out, and I was able to be home for bedtime and read to my kids and stuff and realize what a big part of the bonding experience that is. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And it's like, it'd be cool to have, and I saw these, books coming out, like really cool to have one. And then a story just happened organically where my son lost his stuffy at night, and any parent knows that's a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So he had to go on a hunt for it and play and find it. And I didn't know where it was because he had played hide and seek with it. And that day he had hidden it under a pot under the kitchen sink, like in the back. Like I never would have found it. And he had to retrace his steps, calm himself down. So it was a nice story to it, and it was really fun. So I decided to write it up. I sent it over, and it got illustrated, and it really came to life. Like you send over like a Word document, and then it comes to life when the illustrator gets a hold of it. And he did a great job. Luke Flowers, he's a fan of the show. He did some really fun Easter egg stuff in there, and it was really cool.
So your kids are at the perfect age where you have a plethora of content development, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
so you got to start writing down ideas for future books. But do they ever pitch you like story ideas?
Not really. My daughter sometimes, like if she'll do something and I laugh really hard and like she sees the wheels turning, we're very in tune, me and my daughter. She'll be like, "You're going to talk about that on stage, aren't you?" Like, I think it's really funny. And like when they come to the shows, because I get to bring them sometimes, like when they're off from school, I'll take them on the road with me, which is so fun. They like light up when I start talking about them, and they start like laughing at each other. I keep them side stage so I can see them, and it's really sweet and fun to how they light up when it's about them.
So I want to switch to some of your nonprofit work too, which I love and respect because I'm the biggest dog person you could find.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So you're a huge advocate for rescuing dogs for people who may not know. And you started, what is it, Gatto Pups and Friends, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, cool.
Nonprofit. My wife started 2 years ago, I guess, officially a nonprofit out here in New York. We were just like adopting all these decrepit dogs, and we were like, we probably could do better if we try to like, find homes and fundraise and all that. So we set up our nonprofit, and we rescue senior dogs out here on Long Island and find them homes or let them live out their days if they don't have many left.
What's been the most rewarding part of that for you?
Every day coming home, like it's nuts. We just have the best, these dogs, they just literally come back to life when they find some love. We had this one dog, Mocha. We got her 4 years ago. They said she had 3 months left. And now, she's still with us. She's 17 years old.
Wow.
She's just this little dog. And it's just like they just come back to life when they get some love. They get some camaraderie with the other pups. They fold into the pack, but it really is. There's nothing like a rescue dog. They know what life was like without a home and being comfortable. And then when they find their people, it's like the most selfish charity work you could do, I feel, because the dogs give so much back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're doing it good for them, but you're also getting in return. When I walk in the house and they all go nuts and, you lay on the floor and they're all licking your face and wagging their tails. It's unbelievable.
So what was it about finding, senior dogs and disabled dogs? Was it just the act of seeing the rejuvenation come to life?
That's definitely a big part of it. I mean, my wife has a soft spot for the decrepit, which is good for me as I fall apart as I get older. But she has a soft spot. Like the less teeth, the more the tongue was hanging out, one-eyed, like that's her jam. She just gravitated towards them. And we had our first senior dog is really when we saw it. Our first senior dog was Mishkeen. I talk about Mishkeen, some stories in the special,
Sure.
Messing with People. But he was like a little angry little man, but just like happy to be home. You could see when he slept, he would just be on his back and just so comfortable and safe. And he never had that. So I think she really gets it because they're forgotten and they really just have so much left to give. They just really do. They come back. We have some that are like act like puppies and they're 9 years old, and it's like, it's crazy. They're running around and happy. So
that's really special. So
yeah, sure.
Between the tour, the special that's out right now, the podcast, the book, the writing, the nonprofit, you're clearly juggling a lot. How are you finding time to wind down at the end of the day?
I guess I just try. I don't, I guess. I don't really wind down.
It's brutal honesty, but
it is.
The
Yeah,
nature of the business.
I go. I do. I find time. I definitely find moments. I would say I find
Sure.
moments. We get on a family vacation, here and there, which is nice. And when I'm home, I try, like the first day home, I try to keep my calendar clear. So when I'm home for the first day, I could get back in the house, get in bed with a cup of coffee and a tea with the missus, and we, catch up and
Sure.
and then, the kids, do the tuck in at bedtime and, see how their week
That's
was,
awesome.
their weekend was. Because it's interesting. My schedule flipping is actually better. Like I drop them off at school. I'm here to help them up with their homework.
Sure.
During the weekends, they're at birthday parties or doing stuff. I talked to my wife this weekend. They were never home. Like the kids had 2 birthday parties each, and then they had their activities and stuff. So they're as busy as we are. I feel like I see them more during the week, if that makes sense.
No, they're getting there, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's good, but I guess really I just try to find some moments here and there, play a video game.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I know, back to the moral of why we're talking, you're going to be at the Wilbur on April 25th for 2 big shows. So what's something that people need to know before they walk in?
I would say be ready to laugh, because I guarantee 3 to 5 laughs you're going to get. That comes with the ticket price. I want to make sure everybody knows. But I would say, I mean, if you're looking to come for a stand-up comedy show that's definitely got a fun message to it and a room full of people that want to laugh together, and a comic who is not divisive or, I don't do any controversy or any of that kind of stuff. Like, it's really
Steer
just a fun
clear.
night to
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
It's not my purpose. I'm not here to talk to you about
Sure.
that kind of stuff. Go to other people for that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really, it just is. It's just a fun night. So, everybody needs one. I guarantee it. And Boston definitely always comes out. And I'm always excited about this town and this venue for sure.
Well, we're very excited to have you back in our city. Thank you for taking the time this morning, Joe Gatto, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, did you find Larry yet?
No, maybe he's in Boston. I'll come up and see. Maybe he'll be at the
Please
late
find
show.
out. Yeah. That's the question that I've needed answered for like 10 years. So.
Oh, me too. Me
Okay.
too. And everybody wants to know. So,
Joe, thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much.